This month, President Joe Biden signing the Ghost Army Congressional Gold Medal Act into law, honoring members of the unit for their life-saving efforts in World War II. For more on that, we welcome Madeline Christensen to the show. Her great-grandfather was a member of the Ghost Army, and she played a big role in lobbying for the gold medal in Washington, D.C. Madeline, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here.
So glad to be here.
So you and I met a few years ago where I first picked up on the story of yourself and your great-grandfather. An incredible honor for me, I have to say, and glad to have you back for this happy update. So let's start off, though, by telling our audience about the Ghost Army. What is it all about? Because a lot of people don't know.
Of course. The Ghost Army was a deceptive unit in World War II that used inflatable tanks, sound effects, and radio trickery to fool the Germans. Their efforts saved tens of thousands of lives and shortened the war by approximately 6 months, but their efforts were kept top secret classified until 1996, so they have never been officially recognized for their efforts until now.
Yep, we're going to get more into that. First, talk about how they put their lives on the line, because they didn't use weapons. This was sheer imagination and using their minds. Exactly.
The soldiers of the Ghost Army were not what you would call the backbone of America. They were basically artists, set designers, these men with the attention to detail needed in order to create these, what they were called traveling road shows. And they fought the Germans with giant bouncy castles, basically. They were on the front lines and they were shot at, but they never fired back at the enemy. They were basically drawing all the attention to themselves to help their brothers in arms, and it was just amazing.
So they would draw their attention with these fake tanks and through radio, while other units were making their next move toward the enemy. Just incredible to learn about. You came across this through your great-grandfather, Staff Sergeant Stanley Nance. Very interesting story. Tell us a little bit about that day that you first learned about the Ghost Army.
Yeah, of course. So I first really met my great-grandfather with his 100th birthday party. Now, my great-grandfather has 14 kids, so it was a huge celebration. And when I went and talked with him and met with him, he had this book on the coffee table that was the Ghost Army book. And I was in a U.S. history class, and I didn't believe him. I had never heard of this ever in school. And sure enough, I went home and Googled it, and it was real. And
what was his response when you told him you didn't believe it at first?
He just chuckles and he laughed at me, and he stood his ground and said, "Oh, it was real, I promise you." But
and you learned it was real, and then you took an incredible journey to learn more about it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I decided to do the Ghost Army as my topic for a National History Day competition, and made it to the national competition. And while I was there in DC, I met with my Utah representatives to help lobby for the Ghost Army Congressional Gold Medal Act, which was amazing to be in DC and work with these offices. But I was 14. I didn't believe I would actually do something.
Right, you were 14. That's not on the mind of most 14-year-olds. So what was it that was driving you? What was it that created that passion within you?
Yeah, I love the story, and these soldiers just became my role models. I interviewed about 9 veterans for my project, and I say I adopted 9 great-grandfathers because I just love their story, and I love teaching them that their war efforts actually had an impact. They don't really see the full picture, and I was able to show them that, and I just love them, and I wanted to see them recognized because they did such an amazing job.
It's pretty amazing that didn't come to light until decades after their service in World War II. But you actually went to Europe as well to walk on the grounds they walked on.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I first went on a 2-week tour of Europe following the footsteps of the Ghost Army to represent my great-grandfather at the dedication of the first ever Ghost Army historical marker, and that's in Bettenberg, Luxembourg. And I actually just traveled again this last October for another historical marker dedication in France. And it's just been amazing to go and see the gratitude for what these soldiers did in those places. And so
As you did your projects and went to lobby Congress in Washington, D.C., how much of a role did your great-grandfather play?
He was my inspiration. I would always come home and show him pictures of any of my trips, and he just would love to see them and give me a big kiss on my forehead. And he would always say, like, "Oh, you're doing too much for me," and I'd say, "No, you did the hard work first." And I just want to help you be recognized and help people know your story.
Yeah, and time was of the essence, because obviously we're talking World War II. Most of these soldiers had passed, unfortunately, and your great-grandfather has since as well. He passed back in December. So talk about that element. This was really something that needed to happen, and quick.
Exactly, and it's been really hard to see a lot of these veterans pass away that I've met with personally. But I was just so grateful because I was able to tell my great-grandfather before he passed that the Gold Medal Act had officially passed both the House and the Senate, and he had been recognized. It just meant the world to me.
And if I remember right, when we first met about 3 years ago, there were 8 or 9 members still living. Do you know what the count is to this day?
After we had first met, we actually found a few more veterans that we didn't know had existed, and so our count went up to about 11, but since then it's gone back down to about 8 or 9.
Okay.
And so
your great-grandfather was able to see Congress recognize him, but he did not get to see it signed into law. Let's talk a little bit more about exactly what the Ghost Army Congressional Gold Medal Act is and what it does.
Yeah, so the Ghost Army Congressional Gold Medal Act gives the Congressional Gold Medal to the Ghost Army. There were 1,100 men, and they are now officially recognized by the U.S. government. And that is something I deeply cared about more than the actual medal itself. It will have to take a few years for it to be designed and actually distributed, but I am just so ecstatic to see it actually in the legislation that our government recognizes the Ghost Army was a major part of the war effort, and that they still continue to impact our nation today.
After everything you went through to help get to this point, what was your reaction when you saw the president signing it into law?
I was so excited. I was at school when I heard the news, and I just walked out of my class and did a little happy dance in the hallway and called my family and just was so excited. And since then, I have just been amazed with the support and celebration that has been happening between friends and family of these veterans.
Yeah. As we've mentioned, you're still in school. You're a senior now. You've already successfully lobbied Congress for a Congressional Gold Medal in honor of your great-grandfather. What's next for you? Are you going to run for Congress someday yourself, maybe?
Hopefully, that's the plan. I applied to colleges with a political science major, and we'll see what happens, but I hope one day to see what.
All right. Well, just remember where you got your start, and you can announce it right here. Do you think your great-grandfather is looking down and smiling on this day?
I know he is, and I think he's telling a little bit of "I told you so" and saying, "Look, I helped." Yeah.
Well, it's been an honor for me to meet you and your great-grandfather, and the favorite story that he shared, if you remember, it was after France was liberated. He said he was in a small town and he was going through a parade. Do you remember that story? And he saw 2 little girls waving the American flag, and he said that was the payoff of the war to him, and he even got tears to his eyes that day. An incredible story, and thank you for having it continue to live on and being here and sharing the latest update with us today. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you so much.
And this segment is dedicated to Staff Sergeant Stanley Nance, a true American hero. He lived an incredible life of service, and as you have seen today, his legacy lives on.